Going on, guys and gals? Bonafide Hustler here, coming to you live from my office. Welcome to my channel. I'm the Bonafide Hustler. On a part-time basis, I am reselling goods that I find from garage sales, estate sales, yard sales, flea markets, pawn shops, swap meets, big box stores, even thrift stores. And I'm putting it on places like eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, my antique booth, and other consignment stores in town. Anyways, I'm one of the co-owners of the greenroomuniversity.com. Go check it out. Second link down below. But in this show today, we're going to be talking about how to sell on Amazon FBA, and more specifically, 5 sourcing strategies that will help you make some money, right? Or maybe boost your confidence in FBA in the first place. So I would imagine that the people that are going to be watching this video are a little bit more on the beginner, maybe intermediate side. So I'm going to be talking about things that are part of my personal experience with Amazon FBA, and I want to give you guys 5 tips on profitable sourcing, which basically means finding the items to put on Amazon FBA. So anyways, if you're watching right now and it says live, it's a live show, there's going to be a feed going on, which I might go in and out of the show and like talk about, who else I see on the feed. But for the most part, I'm going to get right to the content right now. And if you're enjoying the content, the most important thing you can do is hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to my channel as well, because there's tons of good content here. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to talk about, and some of this might seem kind of obvious, I'm going to elaborate on some of it and put my personal spin on it. But whoops, sorry about that. Let's get that out of the way. Sorry, I didn't mute my phone. That was not a good thing. So the very first thing is, and I think right now is the ultimate time to be talking about this. And if you're not, cleared for this, then it's a little too late, right? But the most important thing, and when it comes to Amazon FBA, is really to be able to play in the fourth quarter, which is right now. In the fourth quarter, to me, well, the fourth quarter to anybody, in a financial sense, is technically, if you take your year and you divide it by quarters, you get 4 quarters, right? And yeah, it's the last 3 months of the year. It's October, November, December. And that's very, very important with Amazon FBA, because people start sending in a lot of inventory for toys and games primarily, but there's also adult stuff as well, because everyone's got to have a Christmas, or everyone's got to have a good end of the year, right? But the real big rush is with toys and games. And so anytime that you hear Q4 in Amazon FBA, a lot of times that alludes to not only super sonic increase in velocity and amount of items that sell through Amazon FBA, but also it kind of pertains a lot of times to toys and games specifically. And the reason why I say that is because not everybody is ungated or cleared to sell in toys and games, and you have to, they give you, like in September, they kind of give you a heads up, like there's going to be a measurement period of when Amazon's going to be looking at your account and determine what, it determines on certain metrics. They determine whether you are cleared for toys and games to sell for the Q4 season. Now, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it wasn't like that. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, like anybody could participate in toys and games, and it was a lot of fun, and everyone kind of dabbled into it. But now, with all the restrictions and Amazon FBA has evolved. They've had to put restrictions down on a lot of things. A lot of times there's restrictions during the year on items themselves, certain manufacturers, makers, variants. There's just restrictions out there, and they've grown considerably in the past 4 or 5 years. But one of the restrictions alone that Amazon has instituted is being able to sell in toys and games for the fourth quarter. So the most important thing, and that is tip number 1 for sourcing, is really, have a goal in mind. Like, I got to get ungated for Q4 next year. For example, if you're not ungated or cleared right now, it's too late. But for next year, start thinking about that kind of stuff, because you definitely want to be playing in Q4. In fact, a large majority of real big Amazon sellers, at least the ones in the green room, they'll make a majority of, they'll make a substantial portion of their year's income, like right in those last 2 months of the year, because they're gearing up for it. They're planning for it, like in August months and September and October months. They're already scouting, like, what's going to be popular, like how can I front load my inventory and test things out, because that's what it takes. It takes anticipation, figuring out what might be the hottest thing. So one of the ways that you can get ungated quickly, like if you are on the cusp of being ungated or cleared, and this happens around September, is you can find an item that you can buy in a large amount of bulk. And let me backtrack a little bit. In September, they shot out a notice saying, look, if you want to play in Q4 or the toys and games for the holiday season, you have to meet. I think it was like the measurement period was September 1st to maybe like October 4th. Okay, so Amazon is looking your account for 30 days straight, 34 days, something like that, and they're looking for certain things. One of which was 25 individual orders. Doesn't matter what SKU, but 25 individual orders have to be processed through Amazon FBA. So that's one thing, right? And it's not, how do I say, it's not category specific either. So it doesn't have to be toys and games. As far as I understand, it just has to be 25 different things sold. Then your metrics have to be in line too. Like you can't have messed up metrics, which I don't want to get technical, but there are a couple of measurement things in there. One is like customer feedback, like customer response time, all these things that are found on the Seller Central dashboard, like one of the right tabs. You take a look at like feedback and account health, and that's basically what it'll tell you. Like if you're in bad account health, you're probably not going to get cleared. And I don't know if you can get to positive account health within 30 days. So you definitely want to pay attention to your account health throughout the year to pose yourself in a good position for Q4. Anyways, so yeah. Now, one of the ways you can get ungated quickly, like if you haven't messed with FBA, let's say, and you're approaching the summertime in July, August, and you're like, okay, I need to get some SKUs, I need to get 25 SKUs. Maybe you're doing thrift stores and garage sales, and you're sending in used items. It could be so for some beginners, it could be hard to get 25 SKUs sold in a 30-day period if you haven't messed with FBA that much. So here's what I would do if I was in your scenario. Figure out something that you're ungated in. For some people, here a classic example is something that I did years ago. I still even did it this year, but was to buy a bunch of like really low rank low rank electronics, small things like one of the ways that it was easy. I mean, super easy to get ungated. I mean, I was really going to get ungated with, my store and its velocity and the sales, but I just did this just to make extra money. I was like, well, if there's any question if I was going to get ungated or not, like this will absolutely seal the deal. And I bought 18, actually, I think total of like 20 something, maybe almost 30 calculators that were at Target. I think they were selling for $4.98. And on FBA, they were selling for $14.99. And once they took the fees out and everything like that, I would walk with about $9. Now you might be thinking like, okay, so you send in something that's $5, maybe $5.15 with tax, something like that, and all you got was $9 out of it. That's cool. I made $4 on each one, just about $4 on each one, but they sold out in literally like, since they were a 240 rank product or something like that, there's these little calculators that were like TI-30XAs. It's a certain color variant that was selling well. It was the lime green one, but that one sold out in literally like 2 minutes, right? So the second it hit there, as long as it had a competitive price, it was gone within a minute or two. Gone, like that was it. So like that's one of the easiest ways that you can get cleared to play in toys and games, is to do something like that. And you can even do something like that with a loss proposition in your mind, like a sunk cost, going, all right, I'm going to lose 50 cents, $1, $5, maybe even $10 on these items, right? And you might be thinking, doesn't that sound kind of stupid? That's almost like suicidal to your money. If I'm going to surrender $100 or a $50 loss or $300 loss, like why would I want to do that? Because when you're playing with toys and games in the fourth quarter, and if you've got the time to source, and maybe this is like your full-time thing, or even if it's your part-time thing, if you're going at certain hours of the day, there will be those toys and there will be those games that you can get in mass. Like you can get it at scale and you can send them in, they'll be gone within seconds. So when I woke up this morning, honestly, what did I have? I bought 25 or 30 of one thing last Friday, and they hit Amazon on Wednesday. By the time I'd woken up today, they were all sold and they were all gone. And that's only because before I went to bed last night, I actually adjusted the price by like 50 cents on one item. And that one item is gone. Like it's gone. Like while I slept, it probably went in like a flash. So it just goes to show you, like, scale is very important with Amazon FBA. There's no way, if you're dealing with used goods on FBA or with eBay, that you could match the scale that you can get with new goods, especially toys and games in the fourth quarter. The velocity is just too fast if you're sourcing the right stuff. So Yeah, so your existing business velocity might be sufficient to get cleared in toys and games. But if it's not, think about sunk costs. Think about maybe I need to lose a little bit of money, right? Or maybe I need to find something that I only make $1 on or $2 on or maybe $5 on and just send it in. Like send as much as possible, low rank item, something that you're cleared in that preferably has 4 or 5 stars, when it comes to ratings, things like that. You want to get a definite item that's in there with no returns. So yeah, that's the easiest way to gonna ungate it. That would be it. But if you're thinking, and to my last point, like why would I want to lose $300 on something? Because you stand to, honestly, if you are determined and you know what you're doing, you stand to make thousands and thousands of dollars, right? So $300 lost doesn't sound like much. When if I was to tell you, hey, would you put $300 down on the ground? If I told you a week later you can come back to that same spot and pick up 5 grand, would you do it? Right? Anybody would, and that's the same proposition that you should be thinking of when it comes to Q4 with Amazon FBA. Even if it was $1,000, if I told you put $300 down, lay it on the ground right there, come back in a week, and you'll pick up $1,000, would you do it? And the answer should always be yes, and that's what you should be thinking, right? Sometimes you have to pay to play. Anyways, okay, so that's number one. Number two, when it comes to sourcing strategy with Amazon FBA, pay attention to variance, okay? And variance can mean a lot of things. Variance can mean different models. A lot of times it's different colors. It could be different figures of a figurine or something like that. So if you were to put into your phone WWF, like NXT figures, whatever, and I mean, you can kind of figure out that that entire genre of dolls or play figures has so many different variants, right? There's so many different ones in there, some that are not even available right now, right? This stuff's been out for years. Some of it you'll see on Amazon FBA, you'll be like, whoa, like where can I find that? Like, and you realize like, oh, it was like produced like 3 years ago. So there's so many variants to toys, whether it's that or like, Shopkins dolls or simple things like video games, right? Like just because one Mario video game doesn't have that great a rank and isn't showing profit doesn't mean that they all are the same, right? There's so many different Mario games out there. There's so many different consoles that the Mario games are on. So pay attention to variants. Variants are very, very important. And just like in my first example, that calculator, like I think with a TI-30XA, I want to say that there's 4 to 6 different colors of that calculator, right? But only one, the lime green one, was showing profitability. Only one, okay, with the price that I saw, which was at a Target, by the way. And that's where I picked up a ton of them, like a cart of them. So pay attention to variance, okay? Just because if you were to see 6 calculators and you go through one SKU and it's not profitable, the other one not profitable, shame on you if you sit there and assume that all the other ones are not profitable, because that lime green one could be the 6th SKU that you were supposed to scan, and you would have never seen it if you thought, okay, I see what's going on here. Nothing's profitable in this entire calculator aisle. So just think about that. Pay attention to variance. Yeah, colors, different figurines of toys, video games, certain editions of video games. Very, very important, especially when it comes to sports games. Take a look at that. There is a game that I bought full price, actually not too long ago, that I put on FBA for like $110. It's a $60 game, but there are very few sellers at it. It's a certain edition, okay? And there were none other in the store. I go to other stores around town looking for it. It's that rare. So like editions are interesting variants that you can capitalize on as well. I think it's like a 1200 rank game too. So if you're going like, well, I would never spend $60 to sell something for 110, thus leaving me about 85 in profit. I mean, sorry, $25 in pure profit. Like that's not that bad with a 1200 rank game. Like I would do that all day long. But yeah, it's a lot to surrender for something like that. I get it. But it's also a 5-star ranked game as well. So anyways, yeah, so I covered number 2. Like I said, if you're enjoying this content, leave a comment and hit the like button. Very, very important. Okay, so number 3, and then one of the easiest ways, like if you're not part of like BOLO groups, or if you don't know, you can, anybody can put into Google like hot selling toys of 2017, and you'll find a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but 10 to 20 distinct toys that are gonna be the same on almost every list. And these are gonna have extremely, extremely high velocity, okay? Like they sell on Amazon like so fast, like all day long while you're sleeping. I mean, these things are selling nonstop on Amazon Prime. I mean, people are going bonkers on these toys. Now, I've found that those toys are hot if they happen to be profitable. That's great. A lot of these super hot selling toys are not as profitable as you think, or they can be, how do I say it? You can be restricted on them, right? Case in fact, like fingerlings, like that's a big one, right? Fingerlings are really, really hard to find right now. If you're lucky enough to find them, you can move them on local markets and stuff like that. But for the most part, on Amazon, I don't know of anybody that's actually cleared on fingerlings. But just because, if you're going to a store looking for the 10 or 20 like hottest items of the year, you might be disappointed to find that the market price on Amazon is basically, after they cut the check and then you sent it off, everything, and the check is cut out to you, it's like marginal what you stand to make, if any, compared to what the price might be on the store shelf like right now. So it doesn't benefit you that much. That's my experience as of this Q4, is that, yeah, that seems to be pretty prominent. However, one of the easiest ways to do kind of like a reverse engineering of what's hot and what's selling is to look at holes on shelves. Okay, that's really, really easy to do. So you go to a toy aisle, you go to a video game aisle, and you check out where the holes are, okay, and where there's supposed to be stuff on a rack behind it or something lined up, like, like video games are kind of lined up like that. If you see an obvious hole in a rack, you should be thinking, what is going on? You should be thinking, what was in that hole? And how can I learn more about what was there? That's really important, okay? And that takes very little time. Like if you sit there and, case in point, you go to a Target, for example, you go to a toy aisle and you see there's 3 hooks and they all say $14.99 and they all say fingerlings on them, right? But they're always empty. So you can positively assume, like, okay, this thing's really popular because it's never in there. Any Target that you ever go to, like, those 3 hooks are always vacant. So that's definitely a hot selling toy. You want to look further into it. Okay, so you're probably restricted, big deal, but it might be selling on local markets. So it's a way you can make money regardless, like maybe not even on Amazon FBA. But that kind of setup with the holes and inventory not being there is going to be in other places as well throughout the store. And you got to be able to be smart enough to figure it out and go, okay, I see a hole here, and this is for Disney's or DreamWorks troll toy, for example. Like, why is that one like so much more important than the troll playset that's right next to it? Like, why is that hole there? So you got to be thinking about that. And the same thing goes for anything that's popular. It could be, like I said, it could be those things, the JoJo Siwa stuff, like all that kind of stuff. There's always hot things throughout the year, and there are a lot of under the radar ones too, which are really, really cool to find. Because once you learn about one of them, you can apply that knowledge to every store that you go to down the road as well. So it's always important when you're sourcing, I think, out there. It takes a fair amount of prep in October and November, but once you hit the road and you're really going crazy in the month of like November and early in the first 2 weeks of December, you kind of want to have most of what you are looking for like in your head. And if you're lucky enough, you might find a couple SKUs every day that you can start finding in other stores as well. So, but for the most part, try to have most of your research done prior. So yeah, holes mean velocity, and velocity means markets, and markets mean liquidity, and liquidity is what you need. Liquidity is the in and out. That's your cash turning quickly. Okay, so a perfect example of liquidity not that great, I'm trying to think here, is just sending in something that's super high rank that you found at a deal, but it's got a monstrous rank to it, and you sell it into fourth quarter. And when I'm talking about monster rank, I'm talking like monster rank. It's not uncommon for things in the fourth quarter that were in the top 30 percentile during the year or 25 percentile to all of a sudden start coming out of your store as if they were in the top 5 percentile, for example. Like, that's very common. But I'm talking astronomical ranks and stuff like that. You shouldn't be messing with. Like, it's just not a good idea. And if they're bigger items as well, man, you're paying a lot for storage fees. It's not a good idea to do that. So holes mean velocity, velocity means markets, and markets mean liquidity. And liquidity to you should mean how fast can I turn my money around, and how fast can I get this money back to me and doing the same exact thing over and over and over. And that's the secret to Q4 right there, is doing that as many times as you can. Okay, so Another thing you can do when you find a hole on the shelf is to try to read the tag, because a lot of times the tag can be semi-descriptive, and you can kind of figure out what the variant is just from the tag. Okay, so figure out that some of the tags, I want to say back in the day, I think maybe even today, but some of the tags even allow you to scan your phone up to it. So think about that too. You can find out exactly what UPC was right there in that slot. So that's one thing you can do right there. All right, number 4. What else we got here? We got all kinds of people. I haven't gone into the feed here, but we got a ton of people talking. 47 viewers in the house. Please hit the like button. All right, so number 4. Number 4 is kind of interesting. Like people like, oh, RA is dead, and this is a dumb way to do it and stuff like that. Look, scan clearance aisles. It's fun to do, and scan stuff that you don't care about. I find that a lot of deals, and I found a deal 2 days ago. Right, it was not in the clearance aisle. It was in a normal aisle. It was just a price reduction. Right, and the tag looked slightly different than all the other tags that I'd seen on the aisle. And I was like, all right, cool. And you can make a couple, how do I say it? You can start connecting the dots. You're like, okay, anytime I see that tag, whether it be bright red or highlight yellow, or it says, hot deal or whatever like that. I found something 2 days ago. I went to, 30 bucks. I went 9 units deep. That's all I could find. And the thing is selling and netting a check of 70 bucks with a rank that's sub 2,000, and it's a toy, right? And it required no, I just commingled it and out it went. It didn't need any special polybagging, bubble wrap, or anything. It was such an easy kind of thing to send in. But I was 30 bucks into each one, hoping to net a $70 check at the end. They'll sell for about 100 bucks. Amazon cuts the check for about 70, and that's interesting. To me, I was like, how the hell is this here? But that's one of the things that the mentality of scan just the clearance aisle, that's good, right? But go through normal aisles too and see where they are reducing prices significantly. One of the ways that you can do this is to look at the tags, and if the tag says in that case of that item, it was like normal price 70 bucks, final price like 29, and I was like, dude, that's a huge discount, like save 40. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money like that they just knocked right off. And of course I scanned it and I was like, holy crap, like this thing's selling on Amazon for $100 like all day. So that's interesting, right? So look at that. What you might realize too is if you do that kind of stuff, especially if you're the clearance end caps and clearance aisles, end caps are a little bit more like Target-ish. Clearance aisles are a little bit more maybe like Ross and Walmart's. They have like actual aisles full of clearance items. If you go to places like Academy or whatever, you'll find things interdispersed. But you might realize that as you scan some of these things that are these clearance aisles, that you might be ungated in categories that you never thought you were ungated for. And that's a bonus, right? If you just scan something and you figure out, wow, I'm actually ungated in that, I can actually send this in. And of course, you make your decisions whether you want to. But there was something the other day. It was a candle. I was like, dude, I haven't sent in a candle in forever. And I scanned the candle and I was like, wow, this thing is $250 and it's selling like all day on FBA for 15 bucks, thus netting a $9 and 28-cent check, right? And I was like, damn, that's crazy. That's like a 200% return. Super low rank too. And all it required was bubble wrap. And I was like, that's crazy. Like bubble wrap, I had that at home and I just taped up, I bought, I did a test on that one. I sent in 10 items just to see, but I know there are a couple stores that have a ton of these candles at the end cap. So I'm like, all right, we'll see how those 10 go. And if they go well, then I'm going to go and just raid these shelves, But yeah, you can definitely find interesting items with really low ranks that you would have never thought that you could sell in the first place. Earlier this year, I sent in like 30 to 50 quantity of like Swiffer, like pads that go under the Swiffer things, I think it was like a lavender smelling one or something like that. So they have different scents, but this was like a lavender one. I was into each one of those for, I don't know, like $1.70 or something. Like this Target that I went to had a monstrous clearance on this like one thing, and there were so many on the shelf, and I was like, this is weird. And I scanned it, and they were each selling, netting a check for like $7.57 or something like that. So you can imagine with $1.70, and you get a check for $7.57 for each single one that you're selling. What's starting to go through my head, right? And it was like top 5 percentile, and I looked at the charts and everything, and the velocity was there. And so I bought a ton of those things, and I sent them in, and yeah, they're all gone. But that's just another example of just something I saw on an end cap. I was like, oh god, I'm getting in these weird wipes, right? So yeah. clearance end caps are interesting. Like I won't say it's a viable like all the time kind of thing, but definitely look at clearance end caps. So, and while we're at that, I'll give you kind of a bonus tip real quick. Hustle the stores that are very significant to your area, but might not be in other people's areas. Like that's such a monster tip when it deals with FBA, is to figure out what stores that you might have in your state or maybe only in your town, and then go there, find incredible deals, and then ship it off to Amazon. Because 9 times out of 10, no one else is going to be able to match that deal because they don't have that opportunity. Other states, all other 49 states that you're competing with, don't have those stores in them, for example, right? And then once you find those deals in one store that's local in your town or maybe in your state, go to as many of those things as possible and clear them out. And that way you might be one of the only sellers that's at that price that has that item in FBA. And you have the, how do I say it? You have the luxury of adjusting your price as much as you want because you came in so much lower than the entire market that you basically, you'll be just fine. And that example is something I did 2 days ago with that exact same toy. I bought 9 items only. I cleared the entire shelf of 2 stores, and they're about this big and everything. But yeah, that toy was $30, and I think it's only 9 sellers on FBA at 100. So, you have to start thinking those kind of things. When you come across those types of scenarios, you must also be thinking, okay, like my day just became a little bit more busy because this is a great deal. Now I got to go to other stores and clear them out. Number 5 is something I think we can all relate to when it deals with FBA, and that is don't okay, so for me, like I'm a kind of a bigger dude. I'm 6 foot tall. I love to wear tank tops, and I'm, like I usually, when I do the big box store stuff, it's usually in the morning hours. So it's usually 4 hours deep, something like that. And I just love being in tank tops. Like it's a hot town. Like we live in Austin, Texas. Like okay, it snowed last night. That's like totally weird. But for the most part, you can wear tank tops. Like people wear yoga pants like everywhere in this town, like all day long. And guys wear tank tops here and there. But like I'm just a hot natured dude. Like I just don't like shirts that much, and I don't like this unless it's freezing. But I like to be in tank tops all the time. I like being free when I source. Like I like not having anything, in my way. But when I go to places like big box stores and Targets like that, I make sure to actually put a shirt, like a real shirt on or a long sleeve shirt. I don't want to attract any attention to myself. Because it's quite easy to attract attention to myself. It's just one of those things. So you want to be covert with the way that you're scanning. Don't attract too much attention. If you want to kind of dumb it down a little bit, kind of like when celebrities go out in the public and they want to just be, normal people, they almost always have that like drab look to them, and they have the sunglasses that are kind of big. They have the hat on that's tucked down real low. That's what you kind of got to be thinking, is like that kind of approach to this thing. You don't want to stand out as much as possible. Place your carts strategically in certain aisles. That way you don't get in people's ways. You don't have them going like, hey, let me get right by you, whatever. What are you doing in there? Like, what are you scanning? Like, you don't want any of that stuff. You just want to get in and get out, do your scanning, buy your stuff, and get the hell out of there, right? And if you have to buy in severe amounts of bulk, go to different cashiers, break it up a little bit, bring a cart out, put it in your car, go back in, fill up another cart, go to another cashier, a completely different cashier. And yeah, that way you can kind of be under the radar, right? But yeah, basically you want to be a little bit more covert. So what do we got here? Tony Lamar. Hey, what's up, dude? All those things that I bought from you that other day. Tony Lamar, I won't say where he works, but he works somewhere. I went there the other day. It's in the green room, but I put a post. But I went there, and he was nice enough to know. He knew who I was, right? So he works at a store. I walk in. He goes, holy crap, like, you're the bona fide hustler. And I was like, yeah. We got to talking and everything. He's going to be on a ride along, by the way, soon. And I was just like, yeah, I'm looking for X, X, and X. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, can you open that case right there? And I scanned the game just to make sure that everything was good. Like the market hadn't changed in the hour that I had sourced it. And everything looked good. It was all green. I was like, can I buy them all? He's like, yeah, dude, all day. You can buy them all. I was like, cool. So I bought them all of this one thing. By the way, this morning, all those things are gone, by the way. They're gone. They were gone in like a minute, I think. So, and that day I was able to find 20 or 30 of those things. So, and I think 14 or 16 came from your store. So anyways, yeah, it's just I'm just reading some stuff in the feed here. here's number 6. Let's talk to number 6. And I said there was going to be 5 tips, but I'm going to give you 6 of them. Line up as many discounts as possible. This one's super easy to remember, and you should be thinking on these lines. No matter what you buy in real life, whether it be you're going to do this FBA strategy thing and you're going to go sourcing and you get all pumped up, but when it comes to real life and you're about to buy something, like line up all your discounts. Like I don't care if it's a TV or a car or something, like you got to line up discounts, discounts, because the longer your money can last, the more you get to win in life, right? I'm not saying that life is all about money, but the longer your money can run and the longer your money can work for you, the more stress-free you'll become and the better you'll feel, right? Long money rules, like all the time. So line up as many discounts as possible. And also the reason why you want to do this, whether it be gift cards, deal stacking, buy one, get one free, buy two, get one free, like all these kind of things. Line up so many discounts as possible. The Target Red Card saves you 5%, for example, is because this gives you that edge, that last little edge to compete in the marketplace when you bring your items to FBA, right? So if you are, the prices are always like rattling down, and sometimes they go back up and then they rattle down, but it's called price erosion essentially, and that's going to happen in Q4 a lot. So you want to be that lowest price possible, and so there are a couple ways that you can do that. And one of the obvious ways you can do that is by deal stacking and getting things together in bundles, or using cards, or getting gift cards, or going to Craigslist, buying gift cards, making sure that they check out just fine, then using those gift cards to buy things. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And the second obvious way to do it, also to be the lowest price in the market, so where you can have wiggle room, right? Liquidity wiggle room, is to just source from stores that are very significant to your immediate area or your state, like I discussed in example number 5 or 4. So definitely want to deal stack as much as you can. I'm going to be doing a show about this in January with some like really super pro green room members that are like, on track to 1 million or 2 or 3 million in sales for Amazon in the year, right? Just doing retail arbitrage. So we'll be looking at that in January. We'll get a show primarily regarding deal stacking, how to properly do it, and some of those things that you're not thinking about that is definitely happening, where you can get an extra X amount off, whether it be 5 or 10% off. So anyways, that's pretty much the show. I wanted to keep it concise and good. I'll try to answer a couple questions here while I'm still around, but I got some things to plan for today, and I wanted to make a show for you guys in the midst of Q4. If you happen to be ungated or unrestricted and cleared to sell in Q4, hopefully these 5 or 6 tips that I just gave you will help you get regrounded and go, okay, like I know what he's talking about. Like I'm going to get out there and I'm going to approach it a different way and see if it works. And I guarantee you it definitely will work 100%. So anyways, Thrift and Flip RA has a comment. It says, every dollar saved makes a huge difference. Don't be afraid to use coupons and rewards programs. Exactly. What else do we got here? What else we got? We got all kinds of stuff, all kinds of questions. Hustling skills just leveled up. That's right, Tony Lamar. I will definitely help you out as much as I can. Thank you so much for being cool, and thank you so much for selling me those items. Gentex512, who called the snow into Austin? I don't know, but yeah, it snowed in Austin last night and this morning. Okay, so my MYL Star says, find out how and why they clearance the items. Find out how the pricing works and when the product gets taken out, etc. Good. Yeah, that's a good one right there. You can do a lot of things. Like if you find something that's like hella profitable and you're like, oh my gosh, like super awesome, try to find somebody that's not part of primary staff, but someone that's how do I say it? There's those like seasonal hire kind of people. Then you see them in every store, whether it's Walmart, Target, whatever. Everyone has these seasonal employees that are only there for about a month and then they're gone. So seasonal employees, if they have the capacity to use the scan guns, first of all, those guys have zero vested interest in the store. They just want to go there, get some money, and like leave. So if they have the capacity to get the scan gun and know how to remotely use it just to scan a SKU, try to get those seasonal employees. You don't want to be messing with an ASM, like an assistant store manager or a store manager or anyone right under that. You don't want to be talking to those people unless you know them really well already. But for the most part, don't want to attract that attention to yourself. So get someone that's like a seasonal employee that has a scan gun. And the scan gun can usually tell you where else in town at a real-time inventory perspective that item might be as well. So that was one of the reasons how I did 2 years ago, pie face, and I really crushed it on pie face, is because I found a stack of pie face at one store. I'd get someone that's a seasonal employee to like, scan gun it. And you kind of have to read the people and go, okay, like, does this person look like they've, worked here for many years? And some of those Walmart employees will say like, employee for 10 years or 15 years, 20 years. Like, you don't want to go to those people. You want to go to seasonal employees that were just recently hired. They barely know what's going on, but they know how to like scan gun the thing, right? And then that one shipment from like a Walmart, they scanned it and they're like, all right, there's 27 at this Walmart over there. There's 30 in this one. There's 15 at that one. And so, of course, all I did was just go to those. Now, I know that there's a website. Well, it's not called BrickSeek. There's another website, I think, that you can do that, but it's just not as real time as like the actual scan gun in the stores. So, what else we got here? My friend Chris's Liquidation OH is coming to Austin for the holidays. Bonafide Hustler. I told him you two should get together for tacos and share some knowledge. Absolutely. Have him hit. I think he's already reached behind the scenes to me. I'm getting so many messages behind the scenes on Bonafide Hustler Facebook that you literally have to re-hit me like all the time so I can get reminded about things. It's just the way it is. What else we got here? Okay, so Thriller Gorilla Picker says, I got to go to Portland today, so maybe I'll take advantage of that tax-free thrifting. And people are saying, thank you for the videos. Yeah, Thriller Gorilla Picker says, pie hunting, Chris. Yeah, Pie Face was one of those amazing goods or games that I think when I was buying Pie Face, it was either $15 or $19, and the highest I sold Pie Face for was 38 at the time. And I remember refreshing my screen one like thumb scroll down, and I remember 27 or 30 of my pie faces gone. Like, I saw my inventory was X. I did one refresh. It was a rank 1. Okay, rank 1. They call it, I guess, board games. It's not a video game, but I think it's rank 1 in board games at least 2 years ago. What games was it? And I remember scrolling down with my thumb, and I remember my number changing by 30. It was gone. Like, my inventory was like 30 less, just with one finger stroke. That's how fast, I mean, people were buying pie face in the nation. So anyways, that was one of the most incredible markets that you could be a part of. Like, pie face was a really fun market. That was the same year as Star Shower. The year before that was like Chaos Trap was like rank 1 in video games, which was really cool. It was a Skylanders tiny little thing called a Chaos Trap, which was super hard to find. But if you were lucky enough to find one, like, it was a rank 1. If you're lucky enough to find a store that had it, it was a rank 1 tiny little thing, right? That you could send in. It weighed like a fraction of like an ounce. And if you're lucky enough, you could find them at stores. I remember sending in that one, buying it for like $5 and selling it for 11. They were cutting me a check for 8. Rank 1 though, so I was making $3 on like every single one. You scroll the thumb down, like, boom, all gone. So that's what's cool about, a lot of times rank 1 items won't be super profitable like that. And especially with the evolution of FBA, and everyone's learned about it in the past 2 to 3 years, and even like normal Joe Schmoes, just because of all the MSNBCs and like all the all the places that have like covered these people that are like going up and down aisles and like scanning clearance things and making tons of money. Those are really cool articles that get a lot of attention on social media, and so a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon and like try to do it themselves. So there's been a lot more competition this year. That said, it doesn't, I think that's one of the reasons why some of the hotter items are tougher to make money on. But the other under the radar, and I'm talking like 200 rank all the way to 5,000 rank, those items are not a little bit, they're easier to find, and you can find them in almost every single store. But the people that only focus on the top 20 fastest ones, like, I think you're going to be kind of pissed. Like, I just don't see, and I've been doing this for, like I said, X amount of years, and this year specifically, like, this is one of the years where the top 20 doesn't seem to be really worth my time. So anyways, I digress a little bit. I want to thank you guys for chilling out here with me for a little bit, putting some comments in, hit the like button, whatever. Maybe you're learning something about Amazon FBA. If you take anything away from this exact program, I want you to do, this should be what it is. Like, if you're not playing with Amazon FBA and you're an absolute beginner and you've always been wondering about it, jump in and remember to start getting all your stuff in line, like your metrics good, your feedback good, and start getting some sales in there, especially before September, October, because when that measurement period comes, you better be well versed and understand basic risk and sales velocities and things like that. And you can get cleared and ungated in about 2 seconds for toys and games. And that's really, really, really important. That's one of the main reasons why I made this video today, is because it's fun to do, and it's playing. You're basically playing. It's not even working. It feels like you're playing. So anyways, enjoy it. I'll see you guys next Bonafide Hustler Hangout. Maybe I'll run into you at the aisles of some retail arbitrage locations. But till then, I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy. Goodbye.